I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN. I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Yes, welcome. And if you are returning, welcome back for the last time. We have arrived to the season 2 finale of Homecoming. This is the AfterBuzz TV After Show. I'm your host, Rob. I'm not alone. I have a fantastic co-host who always watching my back, making sure I don't look stupid. Kelsey, Meyer, how you doing?
Doing so great. Rob, you watch my back too.
Hey, we have to work together.
Yep.
Yes. What a fantastic finale. And what a freaking cliffhanger. I'm very angry about that, but we don't need to go into that just yet. Kelsey, what do you think about this season 2 finale overall?
Ooh, I loved it. It was the perfect kind of just like icing on the cake. We had Walter kind of getting his revenge, Leonard, the two of them working together. Can we talk about that?
And we will.
And we will. My favorite duo. But yeah, I thought it was a really great finale. And the cliffhanger wasn't too bad. Sometimes they leave you and you're just like, what? This one I felt like was good. I liked it.
Yes, I'm with you. I like this finale a lot. There's a lot to unpack. Just going forward after the finale, the show itself, yes, there are things to unpack, but just going forward after watching this, there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuff going on, a lot of good shots, a lot of good just moments of tension inside of this, and a lot of just paying off what was set up a long time ago. And just a really solid, strong, powerful ending, and it's still open-ended. You don't know if there's a next season or not. I think there is, but that's going to be a prediction. We will get into all of that in just a little bit here. So before we jump into this, yes, I say this every episode. If you haven't watched it, you should watch it. If you're here, you probably already have watched it, but in case you haven't, turn it off before we spoil it for you, because they're coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're gonna get into it. All right. So the topics that we have today, we always have with a few topics that we base this whole thing around for us and for you all. So number 1, Walter meets the man behind the curtain. Very important moment. Very important. But not so much to what happens, not so as much as important as it is what happens after he meets the man behind the curtain. But we won't get into that yet. That'll be in a little bit here. The next topic, Alex gets some answers. She gets some answers and she doesn't want to believe these answers. She believes some of them. Does she believe them? We don't know. Do we know? Whatever. we can't talk about that yet because there's a lot to unpack with that as well. But the last thing that we definitely be discussing here is that it all ends in tears. That's the last point I have. It all ends in tears for everybody involved, with the exception of maybe 2. And that's a question mark,
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and get into let's go ahead and get into the first topic. Walter meets the man behind the curtain. So Walter, in the last episode, we were talking about how, it's the angst, the anxiety, the OCD that makes him want to get this knowledge, gives him the drive to go and figure this out, and to stay up all night watching someone. And for this time, it's that same drive and it's the same angst, anxiety,
Mhm.
and OCD that causes him to drive through the night to
Yeah.
go to the Geist farm. And when he does, of course, he breaks and enters. Well, trespassing, not really breaking and entering.
Yeah.
But he's met by the man behind the curtain, Leonard. And Leonard had a different reaction than I expected when he met
Yeah.
Walter. What were you thinking, Kelsey, whenever Walter met the man behind the curtain, Leonard?
Yeah, Leonard kind of surprised me too. I thought he was going to be a little more like hostile and like abrasive and just kind of, I don't know, like would shoo Walter away more, and um, he didn't. He was really cool about it. I mean, cool, but I think it kind of just proved that Leonard was so done with what was happening to his company that he was just willing to sit and listen. And I think he knew who Walter was. I mean, maybe not, but I thought he did, or maybe he like recognized him. He was like, "Oh, okay, this must be one of those kids," because he was like, "Oh, you're Walter Cruz." So yeah, I mean, it did initially though surprise me, his reaction. He was a lot kinder and, like I said, more welcoming than I thought he was going to be.
Right, and that's the same. The same goes for me. I was thinking he's really relaxed. No gun, no nothing,
Yeah,
because
right,
that's what you
right.
normally expect. And that's what, like, anybody who has like some kind of property like that, especially farmers like out in the country or in rural areas.
Mhm.
All of those guys are packing. You run up on their
Right,
place, they're gonna
right,
greet you with a rifle, like a 30
right.
6 or something like that. With a scope. What are you doing?
On their porch, yeah,
Exactly, just like that.
yeah.
I mean, and yeah, those guys, they normally do that kind of stuff. But I mean, but Leonard, like you were saying, he's kind of done with this. And remember, his company is being taken away from him by the DOD. They're doing this hostile
Mhm.
takeover. He doesn't like it, and he wants to tear up the plants, but he can't because he would be, at risk of going to prison. Which in the last episode,
Right.
that was one early episodes he explored. Trying to dig these holes himself and get rid of the plants, but it was too much for him. Um,
Yeah. I think
of
he
course,
made it through like one.
yeah, there was acres and acres of that. You need
Yeah.
no, yeah, that's impossible. You'd have to do it really quickly. So yeah, and then he's frustrated about that, and then on top of that, this guy that is trespassing, he's not stealing anything. He's walking around looking, and someone doing this, I think it's a little bit more of approach than someone, doing
Mhm.
something out of the ordinary. And then on top of that, remember with this guy, for me, like, I was just thinking about this. Yes, he is a little bit of a live wire. He is a little angry, but at the same time, he's a nice person. The reason why he's
Yeah.
angry is because he figured out all these things about his company and his plant growing into something that he
Right.
didn't intend. So yes,
Right.
but I do thought he took it a little bit easy with him when he came up, and I'm glad he did, because it paved way to the next part,
Mhm.
because he
Mhm.
goes from talking to him outside on his porch, and then talking with Walter and explaining, like, hey, I used to own this, these guys are owning it now, they're at fault.
Right.
And it's like, oh well, these guys screwed me over and stuff like that. And then he has that realization, like, oh, this is one of the guys they were talking about that they
Right.
experimented on. Come on in.
Right.
What were you thinking
I
whenever he had him come in and started talking and all that?
I really did. I mean, and I think I'm probably way wrong about this, but I really did think before he said, "Oh, you're one of those guys." I was like, I thought he recognized him. Um, but I was cheering them on. I was cheering Leonard on when he invited him in. I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be good." I was like, "These two are gonna hatch up some sort of plan," which we then see they do. But like right from when he invited him in, I was like, "Oh yeah, my two favorites right here, gonna put their heads together." I loved it. I loved it. And I think probably for Walter too, it was just nice to actually have someone listen to him and help him. Um, and probably for Leonard too, it was nice to kind of talk. So I loved it. I was happy that Leonard didn't wasn't packing out there on his porch and was actually kind and willing to help as much as he could.
Yes, and another thing, now that he's met the man behind the curtain and
Mhm.
figured out all this stuff has happened, and he feels, these guys are kind of similar in their plight at this point, because one is out for blood. Well, not out for blood. He's out for answers, and he's out for some kind of retribution to for for this company, messing with his mind. And
Mhm.
Leonard are the same way, wants some kind of retribution because
Right.
his crop was taken from him, manipulated in another favor, which he did not know of, and now it's being, taken from the government. He has to watch it being used and doesn't like it.
Right.
And so you kind of you now you have these new allies, I believe. They would have been
Mhm.
enemies at any other time, but now they're
Right.
allies.
Yeah.
And
It was
this,
the yeah, it was the perfect timing for both
yes,
of them. Yeah.
and I want to ask you about this part as well, because there was a little bit of, you know, uh, motivation given to Leonard by Walter to try something, because he's like,
Yeah.
he's like, there's one of me, there's a bunch of them, I'm old, and he's like, no, you're not old,
Yeah.
you need to think about this in a different way,
You have
and
a bad attitude. You're not
yeah,
old.
you have a bad
Yeah.
attitude,
Yeah.
yes, and that's another someone's A- Audrey said that to that character. Remember, she's like, you can say, but you got to fix your attitude.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was saying that you have a bad attitude, and now this is like challenging him a little bit, and I think it makes the
Mhm.
gears. And I don't want to go into what happened, but I think this is when this is the moment when he said you have a bad attitude. I think that's when the plan was formulated for what
Yep.
happens later
Yep.
on.
Yep.
And but how do you feel like do you feel like they played it just right, where you don't know what's going on, but you piece
Oh
it together,
yeah.
like you I felt like they played it just right. What do you feel about that?
Oh, I loved it. I loved it, and I love that they just give you like little like clips here and there of it. Like we started. I even wrote. I was like, the Walter and Leonard encounter at the beginning was ooh, it was like such a little catching scene, but you just got that brief interaction, and then 5 or 10 minutes later, you get him like the progression. He goes inside, and then they're chatting, and then so yeah, I thought they played this beautifully, and that you can put together the pieces. Yeah, they leave you to put together the pieces, and you know what's gonna happen. Um, but it was more fun that way. You don't want to hear like from the beginning or from the middle how it's gonna end, but you can start to figure it out, and it's like, oh dang, this is good. This is good.
Yes. And that's
I
one of
love
the
it.
things that's one of the things I was taught in like film school. You have to give the audience a little bit of room to figure it out. The
Hmm.
audience is way smarter than you think. But you have to make it a smooth transition for them. You can't give them too much at once. Uh, you can't give them too less. You have to give them like just the right amount.
Right.
And I think that's what they did here, and I think it works later on. Um, but before we get in, we have our next segment we're going to get to in just a moment. But before we do that, we always have to would love to take a time out, and it's one of my favorite parts of the show. And since it's the last time I'm going to do it for
Oh,
this show, one more time, thank you guys so much for tuning in, for listening. Thank you for coming back with us show after show, week after week, with different programs. You guys make us the ESPN of TV talk by supporting us so much, and we thank you. Thank you for watching this and enjoying this as much as we did. Um, and it's sad because it's the last time I get to say
I
this,
know.
but thank you, and hopefully we get to see you in something else, which we probably will, because if you watch this show, you and us, you and we have similar tastes, and you'll
Hmm.
probably be seeing Kelsey and I once again. But once again, thank you for making us the ESPN and TV talk. Now, let's get to the next topic, which is Alex gets some answers. And she gets some hard answers too. Okay, so just to go back on this just a little bit, Alex, we go back to the part, and this
Hmm.
episode is called Again. So again, we go back to the whole show, or the company party with the
Yeah.
investors, and we get to see that moment again where Alex and Audrey meet up, and we get a little bit more context inside of this. Now when Audrey met Alex, even though Audrey came in for the kiss and like, okay, hey, where you been? And like this, even for me, if I lost my memory and someone kissed me and they were like this familiar with me, I would question like, okay, maybe they do know me or something. But
Right.
no, Alex is not having it for a minute. Like, it took some convincing, didn't it, Audrey? It's not Audrey. Sorry, Kelsey.
Kelsey,
I'm
no,
I'm
it's okay.
I'm talking about. I'm talking to Audrey. Like Audrey, it took some convincing for you to get me to
Audrey,
believe that we were together.
no, it it was kind of like a little jarring to watch her try, and because I was like, oh God, Alex is like a little bulldog. She is not having any of it. I don't even think she convinced her really. I mean, she got her to kind of follow her and like almost quieted her down. Audrey quieted Alex down a little bit, but she
Yeah.
was she was not budging. She was not moving. She was clearly scared. And it was interesting to see this after what we saw in the last episode, because I really, really disliked her last episode. And then I felt like this episode, you see her being so much, it's like she's in that vulnerable space like she was in the first couple episodes. So you did feel badly for her again because she doesn't know what's going on. But yeah, that was kind of painful to watch. And Audrey's like, what? Like, what is going on? I liked the scene where the guy who she tased comes up, and I
Yes.
think that's kind of when it clicked in Alex's mind, when Audrey was like, "No, it's not a taser. She doesn't have a taser." She was like, "Oh, like she's kind of looking out for me. Maybe there is something." But yeah, that I still don't think she fully convinced her.
Right. And I apologize again for calling you
Oh my
Audrey
God,
instead of
stop.
Kelsey.
Stop.
Um, I've been watching this show and it's like fresh in the brain, especially
No,
this
I honestly
finale is
thought you
like
were still
stuck
finishing a
here.
sentence. I was like, eh.
No, I'm like looking at you and I'm like, Audrey. And I'm like, wait a minute, her name's not Audrey, it's Kelsey.
Hey,
But yeah,
we
so
love Audrey. It's okay.
yeah, so another thing with this scene, like you do see Alex believing a little bit of this, because there's a moment where Alex is like, she's like, my name is Jackie so and so, and
Mm,
Audrey's like, that's our cat. And she's like,
that's our
okay, wait a
cat.
minute.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then while she's talking to her, so Alex and Audrey have this conversation in this little corner, and you get to see the female from a few episodes who I thought was really bad for the cause. You get to see her coming up to her new boss and talking,
Oh
but
yeah.
she knows who Alex is, and
Right, which we had said from the beginning that no
yes.
one knew. Yeah.
And remember, I was talking about how nobody knew it. Not one person knows her at that job. Oh, someone did know her at the job,
Mhm.
and I knew it.
Mhm.
I figured there was no way she's been with this person this long. Not one person
Yeah.
knows about it.
Yeah.
Somebody knows about this
Yeah.
person, and so I just couldn't. That's why I couldn't understand it. But now we have somebody that knows her, and that made me like, okay, nah, I understood it anyway because of what all the events that happened up until this point. But for
Made you
Alex,
feel like she was less of a side piece. Was your
right, she's not a side piece now.
She's not a side piece.
For the record, she's not a side piece.
Yeah.
That should be a hashtag. Hashtag not a side piece.
Not a side piece, yeah.
But yeah, for her to say one great moment for me in that part, where she's having the conversation with her, Alex realizes that there may be some truth to what Audrey's saying. So
Yeah.
when that lady says, "Hey, how are you, Alex?" and she goes, "I'm fine."
I'm fine.
This has okay, that's her blending in like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
she believes some of that. And that's
Yeah.
that's that's a good part, because that lets me know that not all hope is lost with the memory.
Mhm.
I think who knows? I don't want to get into predictions with that, but what I was saying as far as that goes, like I believe that was a part. And so I have to ask you, Kelsey, if this would have been you in the situation with this memory, do you think you would have done the same thing once your significant others with a question mark friend or coworker said, "Hey, Kelsey, how are you?" Would you have responded with
That
something
I'm fine.
acknowledging your name?
Oof, I don't know. I would probably just look at them and smile, maybe. And it's hard in that, like, situation, and I think I would be maybe less like, Alex is just so I don't know, so standoffish towards, like, everything, and kinda just, like, she has, like, so much pent up anger in her, right? So, I don't know if I'd acknowledge it though, would you?
I don't know. In that situation where your memory is gone and you're in this area that you don't know anything about,
Yeah.
maybe that may be something I'm maybe interested in playing the game with, but
Mhm.
I'm not totally sure because I don't know. But there's a whole bunch of events that if I were in that situation, I wouldn't have done to even get there. Like
Right, right.
I think I might would have stayed in the office, tried to stay out of sight. I don't know. There's so
Yeah.
many ways we could play it, but I think that was good. I think that was good for Alex there because in previous episodes, you and I have spoken about the instincts of her, to move and adapt, and now we get the full context of that because remember her job is to adapt to different people's stories and like make them their own and blend in to get
Right.
information out of it. And we were seeing her do all these move the way she moved and the way she interacted, the way she caught on with things, in these in earlier episodes, and now we see it's a payoff of the
Mhm.
plants of her personality before it was erased. And I
Mhm.
thought we got some good insight on that. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I wanted to. There's one more thing that I wanted to talk with you about.
Speaking of her
Well,
job, I wanted to ask you, I'm jumping in before you say
go
that.
ahead.
I thought it was interesting when they were up in Temple's office and she was describing to Alex what her job was. And Alex
Oh,
was like, "That's a job." And she was like, "Well, you made it one." I thought that was a really interesting little point. And then after that, when she was so serious about no one looks out for us, so you and I look out for each other, I was like, "Oh, whoa." But that kind of goes back to what we were saying last episode that Alex would and will do anything, like anything, which we saw with the whole Walter situation for Temple. So that was just I don't know, both those parts in that whole scene in the office was interesting to me.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's what I was trying to look through my notes here really quick to talk about is
Yeah.
how she once her memory is gone and she figured out her job, now she got a set of morals. Did
Yes.
that hit you?
Yes.
Does that hit me? It's like,
Yes.
okay, why would that even be a job? It's your
Yeah.
job. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Why would that be a job? It's a
She
bad
was
job,
like,
isn't it?
"What?" Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was for me. I was like, okay, now you have morals. Losing all your memory and being fearful of your every next step is now giving you these morals. Like, okay,
Now
well,
making you question some things, huh?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I did. I thought that was interesting, and
I
that's
did too.
it's just like what I'm trying to figure out what else, what other thoughts she has developed, with
Mhm.
her morals since this has happened. Like
Right.
with the losing the memory. But I mean, that's something that we could probably explore in future seasons.
Yeah.
But we can get back to that. Let's get back to Walter. Uh, well, let's let's put a pin on that because Walter had disappeared, and I was going to ask you
Mhm.
because I know
Mhm.
you keep track of your boy hashtag Bay. I know you keep track of him. So whenever he disappeared for a hot minute, and we
Yeah.
already knew that he was going towards the plant. We already know that he met with Leonard.
Leonard.
But
Yeah.
while this is happening, he disappeared. We didn't see him anything. Did did you? Or we didn't see him anywhere rather. Did you have any inkling that he was going to be popping up, or did you think that was like? Did you think he was gonna pop up in that fashion? Or did you think he was gonna
I
pop up and, like, get caught by security? What did you think about
well,
that?
I didn't think he was gonna pop up in that fashion, but I did guess, like, last episode, I said that I thought that he was gonna pop up at this party.
Mhm.
I thought that he was going to be a part of this. I didn't think that he was gonna show up, yeah, as a waiter and end up coming out that way, but
Right.
I did think that he was going to be an added element and play a part at this function. So
Okay.
I liked what they did there. I liked a lot what they did there.
I was expecting him to go with, like, a trope, because there's this trope that you see when you have, like, veterans in film veterans in movies that having some kind of
Mhm.
mental issues or they can't get some kinda help or something like that. there's always something where they go crazy and go on like a shooting spree, or they prepare to
No, yeah.
shoot the person who inflicted the harm to them, and
Did
they
you
didn't
think
go
that?
with that. That's what I was thinking, because he took off. Okay, he met with this guy, because we don't know what happened with him after he spoke with Leonard, because
Mhm.
it's a cut. And so
Mhm.
I was thinking the worst. I was like, okay, did he kill Leonard, and
Yeah.
now he stole his credentials, and now he's gonna go? What's gonna
No.
happen? What's gonna
Walter
happen next?
Walter is too kind of a heart. Like I didn't ever think that. Cuz I really do think that they like make him a kind character and like a kind person, and even when he's mad
Mhm.
or like wants answers, he's still not a bad guy. He's just lost. And
Right.
I think they do a good job with that. So I was like, no, my boy's not shooting up anything. That's not happening. No, no, no.
Well, I'm glad they didn't go with that, because like
Yeah, me too.
it's a trope that happens. I mean, that you just seen a lot, and it's fine. But at the same time, it wasn't in his character to do that. Like you said,
Right.
he's such a
Right.
nice person, good guy. So for him to go on like some kind of spree like that, that would totally been out of character, and that
Right.
probably would have made our opinion of this episode a little bit less. Like, okay,
Yeah.
where did that come from? Because those
Yeah.
where did it come from moments, kind of like, okay, what the
Was
hell?
that necessary? Yeah.
Right. And for us, it's like, okay, for example, like with the melon, where the hell did the melon come from? When we get the payoff, it's like, okay, now, yes, this
Yeah.
person did that. And yes, it's totally in that person's character to do that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So that's what
Mhm.
makes it like work. Um, so let's move on to the last topic of the night, which is it all ends in tears.
Oof.
And boy, did it. It all ended in tears.
I have
So
I have a question for you. You
do it.
ask yours, and then I have a good question for you.
Okay. Well, I was just gonna give a little brief of like what happened real quick, which is
Yes.
um Walter, Walter and Leonard come up with this master plan to get some retribution for the people that screwed them over, and also to help people in the future not get screwed over.
Mhm.
And they do this by spiking the punch with an extreme dose of extreme dose of the memory medicine. And it all ends in tears, because
Mhm.
everybody around is drinking the punch, and everybody is losing the memory. People are falling out. And I don't know if people died or just fell out or lost their memory. I don't know what
Yeah, that was
happened.
weird.
Yeah, because I was confused about that. I don't know if they died or if they just lost memory or passed out, or what have you. I don't know. But for me, I thought it was a smooth way to do it. But I want to talk about something else in there just in a second. I just want to get your initial thoughts on it all ending in tears, Kelsey.
Oh, my initial thoughts are A, I purposefully wore this red shirt for this. So,
Yes.
yes. B, I knew right when I saw the punch from the corner of my eye when it was like in a little shot, and I literally wrote on here, I said, "Oh my gosh, it's in the punch," or red punch. I wrote red punch,
Red
question mark,
punch.
question mark, question mark. I was like, ah, yeah, these bastards, these two spiked the punch. I loved it. I thought it was super clever. The only part I thought was weird was when everyone was collapsing. I was like, okay, these soldiers ate this. But I guess it was just the dosage was so high. Yeah, that was wild. That was wild. I thought it was very clever. And Leonard's salute to her at the
Yeah.
top, that was one of my favorites. I was like, "Ooh, Leonard got what he wanted." Instead of
Yes.
Walter.
Yes, he did. Leonard was that's one cool thing for me when they do that cut. They cut from them to over to Leonard,
Mhm.
waving at them from a distance.
Mhm.
Yes. And that's one of those things, like when that happens, and that's like, to go back to film school, they teach you to like make movies that you could watch with the sound off. And this is one of those moments where you could mute this whole episode, with this part in particular in this episode, and see what's happening. You have punch, you have people drinking the punch, you have people falling out, you have
Yes.
Walter walking away, you have Leonard up on the third tier waving at everybody. that right there is like really cool filmmaking, and you can see what's happening. You already know that somebody's been poisoned. You already know who put who up to it,
Hmm.
and you know everything. But
That's a great point. I like that. You
one
can walk to
thing,
it with the sound off.
thank you. One thing I want to talk about is with this is that what did you think of Alex putting together the details of what happened with the poison, but not stopping Audrey from it?
Yes, that's another thing I wrote. I said, "Oh my gosh, she's gonna let her drink it." But that's what convinced me that I don't think she ever really fully believed her when she was giving her whole
Hmm.
spiel. She clearly didn't care about her enough, even after the "you and I take care of one another, no one else will." She still let her drink it, and she had just put. I thought for a second she was gonna say, "No, don't drink that," kind of smack it away. She watched her do the whole thing, and that kind of shocked me.
Mm.
It
Yeah,
didn't surprise you?
it did a little bit for me.
It
It did
did?
surprise me a little bit because there's, and this is a fantastic moment. This is like one of my top 5 moments of tension in this
Yeah.
season. Because they're doing all this cut and this whole season. Remember, they were playing with the whole split screen,
Yep.
the quarters.
I
They,
love
they
how they're
kept
doing that.
doing
Yep.
that,
Yep.
and with this one, they do a
That was
split.
a good one.
It's a
A
multiple split screen.
3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they have her face, they have the shot of the punch, they have shots of people's mouths coming up to the cups, they
Yep.
have shots of people's of the contents of the cup, and it's
Yep.
all with her eyes seeing everything. So
Mhm.
you put it
Mhm.
together as she's putting it together, but she
I love
doesn't
it.
she doesn't stop her. And I was just thinking, damn, you know, you went through all this woman knows you, she knows a lot about you, and
I know.
you still don't believe her, you don't trust. But the thing is, another thing that I want to talk about after this, I want to ask you this. Let me finish up this point first. So
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
she didn't stop her, and that made me think like, okay, she kind of didn't trust her, she trusted but she didn't trust her. And
Right.
then another thing is her Alex and Walter making eye contact. What
Mhm.
okay, what do you think that meant? Do you think that do you think she kinda remembers him, or slightly, or I don't know, has some kind of instinct to, because she kept eye contact with this guy? What do you think about that?
I felt like there was some kind of bit of her that recognized him or felt like she should recognize him because he's staring at her. So she's like, should I know this guy? Is there a reason why like he's looking at me? That's what I felt. I didn't think that she fully recognized him. But I think that she thought, wait a minute. Why yeah. Is there something that I should know about this man? That's why I was like, But then at the end, you get the him coming back and saying, "You don't remember me at all," and she's like, "No, like, should I?" Sort of
Hmm.
thing. Yeah, I don't know. I think that they wanted us to think she remembered him, but I don't know. Did you think she did?
I don't know. I remember I was we you and I were talking about, her instincts, how she's had those
Yeah,
throughout these episodes. So
yeah,
for her to there's so many people that she made eye contact or looked at throughout
yeah.
this thing. So for her to be fixated on Walter, and Walter to fixate his eyes on her, it's like, what would make him different than anybody else? You looked at
Right.
everybody, so why him? Why are you, and
I
why did
felt
you
like
feel the need to go towards him, to go after him?
yeah. I mean, when there are people who are like looking at you with a purpose almost versus just like a glance, I felt like his was more of a eye contact that had purpose and like
Mhm.
meaning behind it. That drew her to look at him and kind of be in that place of, oh my gosh, why do I feel like I should know who this is? That's what I thought.
Hmm. I wonder because yeah,
I know.
it has me stuck. That's one of the things that has me stuck. And the next thing that has
Well,
me
I
stuck.
was
Oh,
gonna
go ahead.
say I was gonna say that it's kinda back to the finale of, season 1,
Mhm.
where we're left questioning if Walter remembers Heidi, Julia Roberts,
Right.
and we don't know. So, maybe that for her seeing Walter for her which hopefully we do get a season 3, but in season 3 they'll kind of reveal that started triggering memory to come back for her. I don't know,
Mm.
because
Yeah,
that happened with him.
that's true. Well, what were you going to ask me earlier before we started on this? You said you
Oh
had
man.
a,
Now I can't
you
remember.
forgot it?
I think it was the punch. I think I was gonna say, did you notice the punch?
Mm. I didn't notice it until people had the cups and they did like a close up into
Ah,
the cup. When they
yeah,
looked at, I was like, okay, something's up with this,
yeah,
and I'm just
yeah.
like,
I
okay.
saw it like right from the start. I was like, ooh, it's a punch. Just that red. Oh, also, I remember what I was gonna say. When they're walking, when Bunda's walking with Zach and Aniv or whatever those weird little minion people were, um, and they mentioned that they're gonna do like a smell. And then remember how we were questioning what that weird bulb was at the beginning when Alex goes into the
Oh,
testing room? That made me think that they were testing for that. Could be wrong, but I was like, that was weird.
because yeah, Alex went into that room too, and she hopped up. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
that's okay. That's a good one. I need to go back and look at that. I already told you I have this,
Yeah,
I'm trying to work on this system of like a way to watch these so you can watch them
yeah.
straight through and everything
Mhm,
pays off in real time. I'm gonna figure that out. And
mhm.
I'm gonna
Watch that and keep me
yeah,
posted.
and yeah, I'll text you and let you know. And then maybe that'd be something we can bring back next season. Like, hey,
Yes.
watch this because I did it and it gave me a whole new perspective on it.
Yeah,
I think
I love
I'm
it.
gonna nerd out while we're on break. Um,
Perfect.
so, with that being said, uh, we covered the last part of it, all ending in tears. One last thing I want to speak about is um, Alex deciding to stay with
Yeah,
Audrey when she wakes
yes.
up because she knows how it feels to be alone. For
Yeah.
you, do you think that is just out of her being sympathy of going through waking up alone and not knowing anything, or do you believe she still feels that Audrey is some kind is connected to her in some way?
I think she still feels some sort of tie to her,
Okay.
especially how in the whole like past whatever 20 minutes that had gone by, Audrey was being so genuine towards her and compassionate and kind of helping her realize what was going on. So I think that Alex in losing her memory has found some new set of morals, which we already discussed. She's a slightly different person, a kinder person maybe, but B, I really do think that she still feels a tie to Temple,
Okay.
and she saw how scared she was too, so she was like, I can't leave her.
Okay. All right. I feel like there's something. I feel like there's some kind of instinct thing,
Hmm.
like connection through like her instincts. I think she
Yeah,
feels like there's something, and she's leaving it open ended,
yeah,
because she did look out for her. No matter if she didn't trust her, she did. Audrey did look out for her and started trying to explain. And now Alex is going to be able to do the same thing to her whenever
exactly.
she wakes up. So we're running out of time here, but I wanted to go ahead and hit the special segment before we do.
Yes.
What's your? Oh, go ahead and take it away,
Oof.
Kelsey.
Bring it home. Homecoming moment. It's our last moment. Rob, let me know your favorite moment from this episode, from this finale.
My favorite moment is when Alex is figuring out the poison. When we have all the cut
Mm,
scenes with the
mhm.
split screens, the tri and quadruple screens, when we see all the inserts of people drinking, the color of the punch, all of that. That whole thing is my
It's a
bring it
good
home
one.
moment because it's like, oh, okay, now we know
Yeah.
shit is getting ready to get real. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, that's my take it home moment. What about yours, Kelsey?
It's good filmmaking. It was a fun episode to watch. Just all the like cinematography and how they put it together. I found throughout this whole season very, very well done. My favorite, and I don't want to mess up this line because I wrote it down, is when Leonard and Bunda are in the field at the very end and she's laying there and he says they have their little monologue and or their little dialogue and he says, "You're gonna get sunburnt," and she says, "Then give me a fucking hat." And then he took off his hat and gave it to her and she says, "My hero." and kind of whispers it under her breath. And Leonard cracks a smile a little bit. I loved it. I loved that little sort of power play between them. She's laying on the ground. He's almost feeling like, okay, I've defeated her because she came in wanting to ruin all of this.
Hmm.
And now I'm gonna be the last one, but also do a good thing and give her my hat so she doesn't get a sunburn while she's losing her memory. I just loved that whole scene.
Yes, it's the least you can do for helping
It's the
everybody lose
least
their
you could
memory.
do. Yeah.
Um, so real quick before we go, what are your predictions for future seasons?
Oof. My one prediction I wrote, I said he's gonna go find Lesky. That was my first one. I think that was his friend's name. It's Lesky, right? The soldier from last
Yes,
season.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think he's gonna go find him. And last we saw him, he was picking up leaves at some random, I don't know, outside some random home, but that was in season 1. So I think he's gonna go find him and try and talk to him. I think that Lesky will remember him. And oh man, stuff is even gonna hit the fan even more. I think that Temple's gonna wake up and not remember Alex, but I think Alex is gonna try and convince her of what Temple convinced her, which is that they're together. Man, I don't know. I hope Leonard just runs off and rules the world and becomes president, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I think biggest prediction would be that he's gonna go find, which was kind of obvious. I feel like that's how they left us, what they left us thinking, that he was gonna go find his homies. But I'm hoping for a season 3. That's all I'm
Well,
hoping for.
I predict there will be a season 3.
I love it.
Alex will be back. Walter will be back, and some of the former clients will probably
Hmm.
be back too. One radical one I have. Well, number one, and another thing too. Alex, I think, is definitely going to stay with Audrey. Like you, I
Yeah.
agree with you. Those two are going to stay together. They're going to go home and figure this out and see all the property they have together,
Hmm.
pictures, all this stuff, and that will help them.
Yeah.
Plus, we have the internet, Instagram, and all Facebook. I mean, we didn't see that in the
Proof.
show, but it's true. It's the world we live in. You have that. Humans can forget anything, but the internet doesn't forget shit.
Forgets nothing. Yep.
Doesn't forget
Yep.
anything. The internet
Yep.
doesn't forget anything. So one more thing, and it's very radical. I think Heidi's coming back. Julia Roberts. I think
Whoa.
I think that Alex, Alex and Heidi. I think those two are going to be in the same space for some reason. I can feel it
Whoa.
because
Julia Roberts.
I,
We
I
need
I
her.
thought it was strange that Julia Roberts wasn't in this season, and she's still one of the executive producers of this, and her
Yeah.
character didn't die. So I think that's going to come back because I
Yeah.
think Walter is going to find her also too. I think also he's going to find her. So I think it's going to be Walter, and then I think
Oh,
Alex and Audrey will follow after, and then that's when we'll get that
I
because
like that because
I
Walter's
think
gonna go find all his people, including Heidi. Yeah.
exactly, and one more person I think is going to show up. Bobby
Bobby.
Carnival,
Yay!
Colin, Colin
Come
Belfast.
back, Bobby.
That's the dude who I think has the cure for the reversal of the memory loss. I think he
Maybe.
has it.
Ooh.
It just he seems like he would have something like that, but we don't know. We could just hope for the best. I hope that that he comes back. I know there's going to be a season 3. There's no way you end
Yeah.
this without having a
Yeah.
season 3, because
Such a good
we're not
show.
even sure if everybody's dead or if they're just forgetting stuff. We don't know. So
So
that's
many
something I'm excited
storylines
for.
that we need to, yeah, that need to still play out.
Exactly. They definitely still need to play out, and we need them back next season. We also need you guys back next season, the viewers and the listeners. Thank you for hanging out with us for season 2 of Homecoming. We had last talking about this, Kelsey and I,
We did.
and we're happy that you guys came. We're happy that you guys came, hung out in the chat. Thank you so much. And we're gonna leave, but we will see you for the next season of this or other shows. But in the meantime, in between time, Kelsey, where can everyone find you at?
Everyone can find me on Instagram and Twitter and all the social media at Kels, Kels, Meyer, Meyer, and 2, the number 2. And thank you guys all so much. This was fun. Thank you, Rob. I loved this. This was such a fun little little panel, the two of us.
Yeah, and Kelsey, real quick, give the AfterBuzzers here. You know, you have some other shows that you're on just in
Yes.
case they're
Oh my
interested
gosh,
in
we
those.
just finished doing Sweet Magnolias, which was so much fun. If you guys haven't watched that, it's now #1 on Netflix. It's a fun little heartwarming show about family and community and friendship, and it's really wonderful. So we just did a ton of after shows with all the actors and cast. We filmed a
Ooh,
3-hour reunion with everyone today. A lot of fun, a lot of fun. And then I actually have the finale of Run this week. It's usually 4 o'clock on Mondays, but because tomorrow is Memorial Day, which
yes,
I hope y'all are celebrating as much as we can,
yep.
that's getting moved. So look out for that. And yeah, I'll see you guys all soon.
Well, that's dope, Kelsey. Thank you for sharing that with them and me. Um, I'm a fan of Run too. I'm gonna go watch here soon. So, guys, you can find me on Instagram, and that's at Rob Stelo. That's ROBSTEELO. And you can also find me on the Rick and Morty After Show and many other after shows. Just keep your eyes open, keep staying on AfterBuzz TV, and you can find out where I'm going to be at and where Kelsey is going to be at as well.
Go watch me and Rob on Homecoming. That was a while
Yes,
ago, but still, we were fun.
exactly. But thank you so much once again, guys, for everybody who watched and tuned in. You make us the ESPN of TV Talk, and we're so grateful for that. You guys enjoy yourself, and until Homecoming season 3, we will buzz you later.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.